Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's off his new loop and on some new narrative, it's Arturo Zurita.
Hey, don't be spoiling stuff for people. For those who have not seen Westworld Season 1, they gotta hop on that.
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
to. I don't know about you, but, and I had mentioned this in the video as well, I was giving out my HBO password to people. I was like, how else can I tell you that this show is worthy of it?
Right.
Here you go. Write down a piece of paper, give it to them.
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely going to get into a lot of Westworld spoilers late in the show, so if you haven't caught up yet, make sure you do, not only with Season 1, but Season 2, which just premiered. You're seeing this probably a day or two after that, if not later, but we just watched it and are going to give you our thoughts on that, as well as talking about Netflix coming to a theater near you soon. But first, what you watching, Art?
Westworld? Besides Westworld,
we'll talk about that.
It's obviously going to be our topic of the week.
Right.
Oh man, this past week had some not as bad as last week's Truth or Dare, but what we had this week was Super Troopers. I did the double take on Super Troopers, which that was pretty cool. They gave you the
nice.
You know,
fun
it was
posters.
The 420 showing starting at 4:20 p.m. You know, they signed the posters. We did a little making sure that they were genuinely signed, and they were. That's cool. I mean, obviously, I know it's when they just get the posters and they go like that, but they were giving them out to everybody. You know, I'm a fan of the first movie. Went into the second one. Kind of excited for it. Did you ever see the first one?
Yeah. Fan of the
you
first one. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's been a while since it's finally come out. Meow that it's here.
Yeah, now that we have it. Meow.
I went into it and watching them back to back. I think they're seamless.
Yeah.
Different cameras, but it's seamless. For I had
quality
a little word
gets
for
a little bit of an upgrade.
For the second one or for the first one. But I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, some of these jokes still land, some don't. So when I'm watching the second one and I'm already watching, going, I know some people are going to emphasize on this joke that didn't land, saying that it aged, but then they hit another one, and the characters go back into it. So I think just for that, if you're a fan of the first one. The second one is literally the same. Do not listen to anything going, oh, we've grown or whatever. But you've grown, that's fine. That's the only one I'll believe in. That you've gotten too old and you don't find the first one funny.
Right.
But if you still find the first one funny, the second one is the exact same.
Yeah, I'm hearing it's definitely for fans of the first one. They will be very happy with the second one.
Yeah, there's no fun. I mean, it's just the same thing, just time has passed. What else do I see? I Feel Pretty. We were talking about it a little bit earlier.
The latest Amy Schumer comedy, I guess. I don't know.
Is it hers? I don't know. We give everything a chance.
Yeah.
Does she give everything a chance? No. We were talking about it. It's like it's like Shallow Hell, except that when she looks in the mirror and she hits her head and she's like, "Oh, I never feel pretty," and then she hits her head, she looks in the mirror and she's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm gorgeous." Like I said, I went into it thinking, "Yo, this girl's gonna go in there. It's just about like loving yourself, loving your body."
Yeah, just having confidence in yourself suddenly.
Yeah, she hit her head, now she has confidence. No, she legitimately is seeing a 90-pound model.
But we're not seeing that as the audience, which I didn't realize you were telling me.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's this like dissonance there where she's seeing something that, that's kind of the cinematic thing you can do there. Like,
right? When you're dead and you look in the mirror, you ain't there. You a vampire. You can't see your like. That's the thing you're supposed to. In Shallow Hell, everybody sees her as being big. Only one person doesn't see her as that.
And that provides a lot of like comedy too. Like for
1000%.
a movie that's supposed to be funny, it's odd that they're missing those opportunities.
Right. I cannot think of another movie where that wasn't the case. And if it was like a student film because of budget issues. This is a big budget thing. Where she's so narcissistic, she kept herself even for the skinny scenes. It's confusing to me. I'm glad she has that confidence until you realize at the end of the movie that she made the movie clearly because she doesn't have that self-confidence. Remember the whole Netflix debacle where we switched from star ratings to thumbs up and stuff when she went up crazy because people didn't like her thing? Bro, you can hate on me all you want. If I got that 20 mil check, hate on me all you want.
Yeah.
I ain't complaining, telling Netflix to switch up the ratings. No, siree, Bob. Everyone else in the movie is pretty good. And the one line that I love, this bartender comes up to the dude and goes, "Hey, so how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, it's pretty good. Just going through all this stuff, and I'm just excited that my girlfriend is." Whoa, buddy, I didn't ask for a podcast. If I wanted a podcast, I would subscribed. I was like, that's a good line. That's a good line. I can see myself using that one in the future.
Nice. So yeah, maybe a couple enjoyable moments, but overall not worth your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's all that you've been watching, pretty much.
Just for me, yeah. The other stuff is listening. Might dabble it into a little bit later.
Yeah.
J. Cole, 1985. The main song, you gotta listen to the album. That ain't even a part of the album.
Yeah, I know you got a video coming out hopefully this week
sir.
on
Hopefully.
the ATZ channel, so make sure you're looking out for that and you're subscribed to that feed as well. As for what I've been watching, Tribeca Film Festival is going on here.
That's right.
In New York. We got some advanced sneaks at a few movies that'll be coming out. I think with Tribeca, it's kind of this interesting festival in that it takes place before a lot of the fall big festivals, but it's after South by Southwest and it's before Cannes, so you know the bigger movies are going there, and we get some of the movies that kind of fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
A lot of movies that star celebrities that are like not as successful indies, or a lot of movies that are going to premiere a month from now but kind of just need like a big gallery opening. So I actually saw 2 movies that will be out in May, so these are ones you can keep on your radar. First one is called Cargo. It's a movie set in the Australian outback starring Martin Freeman after a zombie apocalypse of sorts. Yeah, and
I think it was you who tweeted this out, maybe.
I mean,
I heard of it.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept that's sort of, it's a more restrained look at the zombie apocalypse thing that we've been doing a lot of. I think it's trying to go for that whole like humanistic kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger Maggie version of zombie movie thing. It was more successful to me than the movie Maggie, which I saw at 2 years ago at Tribeca and didn't like. I didn't really love this one either. I thought Martin Freeman was pretty good in it, but there's sort of a pessimism to a lot of zombie movies that makes it hard for me to get into. You know, there's like natural to a lot of these horror movies is that there's a lot of death, and I don't know, it just didn't feel redeemed by the movie. But I do think if you're somebody that likes the zombie genre, this is really an interesting one in that he basically finds out that his wife gets bitten by a zombie and has 48 hours before she's going to turn, and he is going to try and save her and save his baby in that time. It's pretty well executed in that front, so if that's something that sounds interesting to you, that will be on Netflix May 18th.
Yeah. Because I remember we talked about Tribeca before. It's I always, because I sent my thing for it. I'll never be able to go to Tribeca because my mom and brother's birthday will always fall during Tribeca. But I remember we talked about Tribeca has like a lot of movies that go to VOD.
Yeah.
Like you said, they don't have that big push to be able to have that theatrical run, so they thrive on VOD. And that's how I heard about it, because someone has mentioned that it was coming out on Netflix.
Exactly. So that's what's kind of cool in a way about Tribeca, is that it is for some of these movies that are a little bit in between. And, you know, for me, I get to see some movies that are kind of, you know, maybe gems in the rough. And I think one of those movies is the other one that I saw. It's called The Seagull. This one's coming out May 11th. It stars Saoirse Ronan.
Birthday.
Something to do then. Saoirse Ronan, Annette Bening, and Elizabeth Moss. And Corey Stoll as well. It takes place in Russia, I want to say in like the 19th century. I'm not so sure. Not so time specific.
Yeah.
But it's this sort of odd, like incestuous tale of a bunch of Russian elites and actors and writers taking a summer vacation in the forest together, and it's like this a love triangle is simplifying it too much, because there's all these people who are into other people and miserable because of it. There's like a frankness to the humor too, in the way that they talk about despair so nonchalantly. I think there's some really funny moments, but it's not necessarily the best movie. It's not something that was gripping from beginning to end, but I found as it went along, I got more and more interested in how it was going to reveal itself, how the characters were going to twist each other's stories around each other. I felt like this one had the vibe of a play, in that there was always when one character was finishing
Yeah.
their speech to another character is walking into the room, and it had this very kinetic energy. It's like we're gonna move from the living room out to the outside, and then walk back up the hill with this character. And I think it's a fun watch. It has some very, very good acting in it. So if you're a fan of Saoirse, Elizabeth Moss, Annette Bening, Corey Stoll, it's worth putting on your radar. Like I said, this one is going to be out in theaters on May 11th. So check out the Seagull. Let me know what you think.
I'm looking at it. It does say that it was based off of a play. I'm trying to see because...
That makes sense then.
Yeah. The Chicago Critics Film Association, I want to say, is the one. There's a Saoirse Ronan movie coming out, and my girlfriend noticed it. I'm trying to confirm to make sure that that's the one. And we were looking at it. We're like, wait a minute. Saoirse? Early release in May?
Maybe there's some Oscar.
Maybe there's some, yeah, because we know Saoirse only comes out during Oscar season. But,
yeah, well, she's got 2 movies coming out this year, and one is a little bit more tagged to award season. I don't know if this is going to get an awards push, but
So
I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason she took it is she thought there might be some awards push in there. I feel like it's maybe just a rung below what it needs to be considered like a Oscar hopeful, but it's certainly like of that spirit and has some really good performances in it. I wouldn't be surprised if critics talk about it a lot a month from now.
Do you know the name of the other one that you think is going to get the awards push?
Mary, Queen of Scots. That's one where she and Margot Robbie co-star as royalty of Scotland, I want to say.
That sounds like Oscar bait. On Chesil Beach was the one that I saw. Or is the one that's going to be playing there. And it's got Saoirse. It's got Emily Watson, Samuel West, Adrian Scarborough.
I gotta look into this one.
So, I don't know. I like hopping on. I'm waiting for that other Brooklyn, right? When Saoirse comes out Oscar season, we get Brooklyn, we get
Lady Bird.
You know, you get those big ones. Baby Saoirse gave us Atonement. So.
Yeah, she's in it for those statues. So we know that's coming sooner or later. Especially she's so young and seems to be constantly getting awards attention for these roles. So good to keep her on our radar. Let us know if you've seen any of the movies that we've been watching down in the comments below and what you think. We're going to get into the yay or nays, talking about the latest happenings in the entertainment industry, starting with the Los Angeles Times reporting that Netflix is considering venturing into the physical distribution space more aggressively by buying movie theaters. This was apparently part of talks within the company when they were considering buying Landmark Theaters, that chain, before Netflix eventually backed off of the price being too high. However, Netflix getting ownership over a chain of movie theaters might be incentive to have the streaming giant approach how they release films a bit differently. So Art, yay or nay, Netflix buying physical movie theater chains would be a good thing?
Nay.
Nay.
Remember back in high school where you came in with your Reeboks and then you got clowned on because everyone else was wearing Nikes? So the next day, you're trying the hardest you can to get like the most affordable, cheapest Nikes. I feel like this is Netflix trying to fit in after cons, whatever you want to call those stuck-up people, looking down on them for not being able to release their movies in theaters. They're like... Well, yeah. Well, if we buy a movie theater, then we own a movie theater and we can release it into theaters and not have to. No, you know what I mean? It's like the rich kid trying to be like, oh, I don't have any friends, but you guys like ice cream? Daddy, buy the ice cream shop. No.
Yeah, I'm kind of a similar mindset as you here. It feels in a way like Netflix being like, oh, we can do movie theaters to you guys.
But their whole thing has been at home. Like, that's what literally people have argued for, and what you've argued for it as well. I feel like that's them giving in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against Netflix putting their movies in theaters. I want them to do that.
Buying a theater?
Buying theaters, it seems a little weird. I'm curious to know whether or not they would be showing other movies in their theaters. Would it be a Netflix-only movie theater? Would they screen like 3 episodes of the new season of Jessica Jones or something like that?
Okay.
So it's an interesting idea, I guess, but it's not what I'm looking for Netflix. They can just put their movie in theaters.
I get what they're doing. They're going to buy out this building, buy out this place, right? They're going to buy sofas. and put sofas in all the rooms, and their screens are just going to be these really massive TV screens. They're going to put Netflix on all TV screens. You can go in there and watch whatever you want. You'll also be able to pick however you want and pause it. Mm-hmm. All of these rooms will be in different stuff throughout the building. They will then rent out the rooms to people on a monthly basis, where they can also move in and eat and sleep, and they will have the ability to watch Netflix right there.
And this is how Netflix slowly takes over
Netflix
our lives.
Creates an apartment complex, because that's all you have. Netflix at home. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't see this being a huge thing for Netflix. I see it more being a vanity thing to help them compete for Oscars. And
so when the next Netflix movie gets announced, what is it? Oh, new Netflix movie. Oh, but not at home, not an actual Netflix. It's a movie theater Netflix. What was the Super Bowl? What was the biggest flex on the Super Bowl? New Cloverfield movie. Out now.
Yeah, go and check it out immediately when you're done.
Oh, but not the next one. Not the next one. The next one's in the theater.
Right. I don't know. It seems like a weird move for Netflix. James Cameron, who we last heard from planning another decade's worth of Avatar sequels, recently revealed his thoughts on the slew of Avengers movies that have been released, stating that, quote, "I'm hoping we're going to start getting Avengers fatigue. Not that I don't love those movies. It's just, come on, guys. There are other stories to tell besides, you know, hypogonadal males without families doing death-defying things for 2 hours and wrecking cities in the process. Art."
Wow, he went that deep. I only saw the headline. Okay.
Yay or nay? You care about James Cameron's criticism of Avengers?
Nay. Remember in high school?
This is the nostalgia episode of Intercut.
Right? Remember in high school where you were that kid and like you spilled milk on your shirt? And then at a certain point you go, and at a certain point you just go, "Oh, come on, guys. Y'all didn't see Jimmy? Jimmy slip on the skateboard? He's mad that Black Panther outdid Titanic's
box office.
Yeah. He knows that if that was just one, and they're building up with this next Avengers movie, his Avatar's going to go away. He knows for a fact he can do 26 million Avatar sequels like he's planning on doing, which, again, and I'm sure you're going to bring up, no more sequels for Avengers, yet you want 5 Avatar?
Yeah. Like, that's the whole thing here is, like, it's pot kettle black, you know? I'm obviously nay on his criticism of it when all he's planning on doing is let's make more of Avatar movies. Let's produce more Terminator movies. Like,
bro, what you talking
this
about?
is the franchise, dude. He got his start in Alien, you know? Like,
yeah.
This has been his whole career, is franchises and extending these franchises. I mean, I get criticizing Avengers and criticizing the slew of Avengers movies. It's no like criticism. 50% of what I do on this podcast.
Right, but you stand by what your thing is, right?
Yeah, I don't then go out and make 5 sequels to a movie.
What's James Cameron known for? And he's the G, don't get me wrong. Like, he has made classics.
Great at those movies.
No one is saying anything, but what's he known for? Going into that pitch meeting for Alien and going, yo, yeah, that Ridley Scott movie, Aliens. What about it? You just added an S. Nah, bro. And then he drew the money symbol through the S. That's what he's known for. So it's dumb for him to complain. It sounds like he's just complaining because he knows and he's scared. Bro, that Avatar record's going to be broken. He's tired. He's like that guy who keeps waking up.
Right? I mean, I think he's just worried that Marvel, Disney has taken shine away from Avatar, you know?
No, he did that when he decided to wait like a decade to release another one. Yeah, that's what happened.
After launching plans to make his next film via crowdfunding, Neil Blomkamp and Oats Studios have canceled their plans to make a proposed sci-fi movie set during the Vietnam War. Blomkamp took to Twitter to apologize to fans and tell backers they'd be getting a refund, stating that, quote, "We didn't raise enough to do something truly awesome." Firebase was set to be Blomkamp's first feature since 2015's Chappie and his abandoned Alien sequel. Art, yay or nay, Neil Blomkamp is still a filmmaker whose work you're looking forward to.
Oh, well, that's different. No. Sadly, no.
Yeah.
I'm getting to that point the same way that I see Van Forstick. What's his name?
Josh Trank.
Josh Trank. And obviously that's more of a...
He kind of flamed out a little bit.
Right, because I'm a huge fan of Chronicle. I'm looking at the Blu-ray right now. I like it. You know, and then it didn't... He had that fallout with the studio. I'm trying to think of other directors who have gone the same way, where they look so promising, and then you give them more movies, and you go, you know what I mean? Like I feel he's in the Wachowski level.
Right. Comes out swinging, and then nothing really seems to affirm your faith in them.
Right, exactly. But the Wachowskis at least have something to them, and that's that they have a style, right? Like Cloud Atlas, you may not like it, but that thing's got their style stamped all over it. The movies
you may not like Speed Racer, but oh my god, those colors.
Exactly. He has that sci-fi quirkiness down in everything that he does. That's the best part of Chappie. That's the best part of Elysium. That's the best part of District 9. But the best one of those was the only one who got nominated for an Oscar from what I'm aware of, unless the other ones got technical effects. I didn't care for Chappie.
Yeah, same.
People forget Elysium exists. Another Matt Damon movie where he's out in space. What you said, I didn't know the whole story. What you mentioned about him making sure that the money was going back, and I do like. I will give him that.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't get enough to give you the product. I'm not going to have something, so I'm going to give you the money back because I'm not going to take your money and then not give you the full support.
Yeah, obviously that's something that's good on him.
Commendable. Yeah.
It's totally commendable, and I also like that he's not going to half-ass a movie if he doesn't think it can be done right. But it does make me a little bit like unsure of what we're going to get from Neil Blomkamp next. I think his films have been kind of declining in quality, and now he's been doing a lot of short films, and I don't know, he might not be necessarily made for this space. I think he shows a lot of vision, but maybe he's more of like a production design guru. I don't know really. Maybe I just feel like sometimes people are really, really good at some things and not everything you need to be good at to make great movies. But
that's true.
He's certainly an interesting filmmaker, so I'm rooting for him. I'm just not going to actively pursue his works. Deadline report. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, do you think it's the studio that he's having issues with, and that way he went the crowdfunding way? Do you think that they probably had a big effect on Chappie? They had a big effect on Elysium? After District 9 blew up? Because District 9 was dope. You are right when you're saying that maybe he's not a director. Maybe he should be something else. Because District 9 looks like it was shot on location with like actual people. I remember seeing that. Right? Like that is my reference point to whenever you see something up in space. Because that looked real.
Yeah. District 9 was amazing. And, he did have that Alien sequel that was going forward and then seemed to just all of a sudden not be going forward.
For the ones that they have coming up that are so good.
Yeah, exactly. They needed to get that Covenant out there.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I wonder if there's maybe people are a little less willing to bankroll this guy since his last two movies weren't nominated for Best Picture the same way that his first one was. Sometimes you need to kind of like readjust to maybe a smaller budget or something.
But the fact that you said that he's making short films makes me wonder if he's just the type of guy, and I haven't looked too much into it. Like Josh Whedon will complain in a minute. He will. He'll complain in a minute. Then you have other people like Zack Snyder who can get all the hate and everything in the world, but you never hear Zack Snyder, even if he disagrees with people, ever say anything.
Yeah.
We all know, look, whether you're a fan of him or not, we all know he got screwed over with the last movie that he did from Warner Bros. And he still goes, no, I'm good. It's like, brah. Like the literal notes have been leaked. Exactly. And he goes, nope, that's not the type of guy I am. So I'm curious if he's the type of guy who just won't say anything about the studio meddling. You know what I mean? So
yeah, interesting. Could be more to this story, I guess.
Yep.
Deadline reports that Kingsman star Taron Egerton will re-team with Eddie the Eagle director Dexter Fletcher on yet another biopic. This one about the legendary British songwriter Elton John. Egerton will reportedly do his own singing in the role, having already lent his voice to the animated feature Sing, as well as one of the songs on the Eddie the Eagle soundtrack. Right. So, Art, yay or nay, you want to see Taron Egerton take on the role of Elton John?
It doesn't sound like, whoa, right? Like we heard of Sacha Baron Cohen playing
Freddie Mercury.
Whoa!
Oh my god!
Oh my goodness! And then it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Rami looks dope though. Rami's still doing it, right?
With Dexter Fletcher.
What?
This is the director they brought in to replace Bryan Singer.
Is he just doing every biopic possible?
Yeah, every Singer biopic apparently.
All right, I'm looking forward to this Michael Jackson one. Taron Egerton's a very good singer. You brought up Sing. I remember when he was in Sing, and I was like, is that really his voice? And then obviously I did a video on it with the Easter eggs and stuff, and I was looking into it, and I was like, yo, he's got a voice on him. He's actually really good. He's like, when you don't think Ansel Elgort is a singer, and then you see he's got singles out, he's got an album out, like, whoa.
Actors, talented people, who knew?
Exactly. Kingsman 2. In Kingsman 2, who's this on? Who's the biopic on?
Oh, Elton John.
Elton John. Elton John was in the movie. I don't know if you ever saw Kingsman 2.
I actually didn't.
Elton John gets kidnapped, and it's just him singing the whole time. So clearly he was singing on set the whole time. Obviously there's a connection there, so I feel like he has his blessing. And who knows anything about blessings? Sir Elton John. So the fact that he can sing, I like Taron Egerton. Yeah. I think Eddie the Eagle is a fine, fun movie. It's very energetic. I'm very curious to see how the Rami Malek biopic turns out. Because the style of Eddie the Eagle, his singing, and just the persona of Elton John, I think go very well together, of it being this very poppy thing. Especially because this director's already worked. I believe Eddie the Eagle was in the 80s, so he's already 70s or 80s. So he already knows how to get into that time period, right? He's already in the mode because he's doing the other one. I'm for it. This is one of those movies where you don't think of it as being like the craziest thing in the world, right? And then it comes out and it ends up becoming this big thing. Like, I'm trying to think of directors who have released something, and we never thought on their previous work that that's where they would end up being.
No, that's a really good point. And like, I'm gonna go yay here, kind of for that point too, because hearing the news doesn't make me like super amped. But I could totally see myself a year from now getting the first trailer for this movie and being just like, wow, he looks so much like Elton John. This might be a low-key Oscar play for Taron Egerton, who is, an upcoming star but hasn't really been shown in that light yet. I'm curious because Elton John, from the little bit I know, has lived a really interesting life. I'm very curious to see what this movie is going to be like, and Taron Egerton deserves a good job like this one. So
it's crazy.
We'll get into some rough cuts before we wrap up yay or nay. First one is that DC has enlisted director Cathy Yan to helm its upcoming Harley Quinn movie. Yan has primarily worked in short films, although her feature debut, Dead Pigs, premiered earlier this year at Sundance. She also is going to become the first Asian woman to direct a superhero movie. So, Art, yay or nay, you like the choice of Cathy Yan as Harley Quinn's director?
You had mentioned that this movie was at Sundance. I did not see this movie at Sundance. I got a little buzz, and it was just for the fact that it was called Dead Pigs. I'd have to see Dead Pigs. I'm very curious this because I know you mentioned Asian female director. That's great. I mean, you know how we do it on the show. I want to know if you're good. I'm a Cubs fan, right? Do you know how many times we have? Remember? I don't know if you ever heard of Fukudome.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting the name of the Asian pitcher that we also got as well, that we have right now, for so much money. But for what? Yeah. It was only for the big headlines. I really, really, really hope, especially because they have Patty Jenkins, who did a fantastic job. Like, Patty Jenkins came in and proved, right? Didn't just say, I'm a female director, I'm going to do this. She said, nah, I am a director, and came in and did something. I really hope that this isn't DC grabbing somebody just for the attention of the headlines, the first fill in the blank.
Totally.
I really hope she's a good director. I haven't seen Dead Pigs, so I look forward to seeing Dead Pigs because it did, for the people who did see it at Sundance, got critically acclaimed. But that's all I care about, is it being a good director.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly hoping this is more of a Shohei Ohtani than the unsuccessful imports. I'm for it only for the idea that, if we're going to pick up all these random indie directors, like picking up Colin Trevorrow and throwing him Jurassic World, and it might as well go with an... I mean, yeah, I don't like Colin Trevorrow's work in Jurassic World. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm for giving another random chance to a female voice, an Asian American voice. I don't know if it means it'll be good, but I think that at least they'll have, attempted this, and at least we don't have to. Right. It's not like a lingering. Well, when will we finally get the first? We've tried it, and considering that she has a movie in Sundance that seems to be just as qualified as many of the other indie directors that have been plucked onto blockbusters recently. So,
what are her other movies?
Just shorts, as far as I know.
Exactly.
Only Dead Pigs is a feature.
Exactly. So I'm curious. Now, don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe she blows us away as a household name.
Yeah.
I'm just questioning DC because they don't even know what they're doing.
Right. I mean, we never know. Will she be Ryan Coogler or will she be Josh Trank?
Yo, hey, don't do my boy like that. He got screwed over.
Netflix is ordering a new series from the UK called Turn Up Charlie, starring Idris Elba as a DJ and bachelor who becomes a male nanny to his famous best friend's daughter, Art. Yay or nay, this sounds like a show that you will watch on Netflix.
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, I like Idris Elba a lot. I don't need his version of the Tooth Fairy or the Pacifier.
Pacifier? Nope.
Yeah.
Already got the Pacifier on DVD.
Oh, good. Netflix also launching vertical movie previews for mobile devices. Art, yay or nay? Netflix is sharpening a knife and preparing to stab cinema in the heart with it.
No.
I don't
Forget
like
the vertical.
people,
I don't need ads.
I mean, I don't like people freaking out about this idea of vertical previews on Netflix. Like,
oh. Yeah,
it's not like they're
I'm fine with
making
that.
vertical content. It's not like they're redesigning movies to fit on your phone.
Yeah,
it's
no,
just for
yeah,
like
that's
a little preview. Like,
right, yeah. Like you worked on your music video, right? And when you worked on your music video, you needed different formats for Instagram and stuff. That's all fine. That's all fine.
exactly. Like,
What's the
it's
purpose
just
of this?
trying to get people to watch the. I mean, the purpose
I
of
don't
Netflix
need ads
doing
on Netflix.
You don't like having trailers on Netflix?
No, I hate seeing a trailer now that they play it before the movie. Luckily, it allows you to skip it and stuff. But
Yeah.
like, I'm sitting down and I'm saying like, oh no, what the heck? No. What?
Yeah.
Oh, I love to.
I'm for it as long as it's an opt-in. But Netflix, stop auto-playing trailers. That's the worst.
Yeah, that too, right? Like you're
Yeah.
like, oh, let me go check, and then something starts playing. You're like, what the heck?
It's not the death
No.
of cinema. It's just really unenjoyable.
It's just annoying.
And finally, Amazon will prevent non-Prime members from buying certain movies, such as Star Wars and Marvel DVDs or Blu-rays. Excuse me. Art, yay or nay, this is a helpful move for Amazon in the long run.
No, it's dumb. However, who is using Amazon without a Prime membership? Do you not have a Prime membership?
I've got a Prime membership. I know some
Who
people
doesn't?
don't.
How? You come out of the womb with your Prime membership first and then your social. Is that not how it goes?
I hear they're actually replacing Social Security with
Social
Amazon
with
account
Amazon
numbers.
Prime. So you can share your social with other people?
So I'm going to go yay that this is smart for one reason, and it's a reason that we've been talking about a lot on this show. I think they're preparing for Disney's streaming service. And I think they're trying to make sure everybody is signed up before that service launches. Even the people that want Star Wars and Marvel enough to buy them on Blu-ray.
I agree. Yeah. I don't agree with it. I agree that's why. I just think that's a dumb move.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Netflix adding ads.
Yeah,
But
it's
dumb.
not something that I support, but I see there's some thinking there. Disney's got them
paying
shaking in
$9.99
their boots a little bit.
So paying $9.99 for the privilege of paying $25.99 when
Yes.
when the Disney subscription might have the movie in HD streaming?
But maybe they've already bought it on Blu-ray. I don't know. I don't know. It's not that it makes a whole lot of sense either way, but they're doing it for some reason.
You
and
should
I
have
think
a
that's-
Prime account anyway. Don't matter.
Yeah, I agree with that. But we move on to our topic of the week. Let us know in the comments below if you have any thoughts on the news that we've covered. It's time to move back into the park and talk about Westworld Season 2. Season 2 just premiered, and given the bloody ending to Season 1, I'd say it's about impossible to have this discussion without spoilers, so please check that description down below for the episode breakdown, and you can skip ahead to the new to see in the time code. But we're going to start delving into spoilers in about 3, 2, 1. Art.
Oh my goodness, they're all dead. All the hosts are dead. Can we first of all, you know how when you come back from a season 2, and I call it the season 2 slump. The worst season of Lost is season 2, in my opinion. The worst season of Breaking Bad is season 2, in my opinion. A lot of people say Game of Thrones season 2 is the worst. I think they curved it. I think HBO has a special ingredient when it comes to their season 2s. And I feel this might have it because I thought the pilot was pretty good.
Yeah, you were into the premiere?
What's up?
You were into the premiere.
Oh, I thought you said I went to the premiere. I said,
No.
Thank you for having that confidence in me. I was not there. Yeah, I was into it. Like, it wasn't anything mind-blowing, but it was at the same time. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they
their
set
bombs
up a
weren't
lot
like-
of stuff.
Yeah, their bombs weren't these huge things. Their bombs were like, oh, y'all just slipping DNA to people's things?
Yes.
This ain't the time for that.
That's something that I found interesting. Is
Facebook?
that they slipped in a couple big details that are probably going to play a big role on the show going forward, but weren't necessarily treated like these game-changing moments. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that happened on this show. The way that I see it, there's about 4 plot lines that we should hit on, mainly that being Dolores' rebellion, Maeve's return, and the 2 Bernard timelines, one in which he's escaping the park with Charlotte, and then another in which he's investigating the massacre with Delos. Where should we start?
Can we do them in the order of, I don't know how you like them, but for me it goes Bernard's timelines are the most intriguing,
Yeah.
then it's Maeve's, then it's Dolores. So
Yeah,
I don't know
I mean-
if you want to start from exciting to not, or...
I mean, I would actually agree with that ranking anyway.
Right?
So I'll start that way too. I think Bernard was the one who was also most emphasized this episode. They do a thing
He's
in
who starts
Westworld
it, yeah.
where they kind of shift who's the center of the show from episode to episode, and this was definitely a Bernard-centric episode. It begins with him and Dolores having a conversation about dreams, the nature of dreams. Before long, we're getting flashbacks, Bernard looking at memories of blood and him holding a gun and him walking with Dolores, and she looks kind of futuristic. But then we are transported back to the immediate aftermath of the massacre with Bernard hiding out with Tessa Thompson's Charlotte character trying to escape the park and locate a very valuable asset. The other Bernard plotline takes place 11 days after the massacre and has Bernard exploring the remnants of the massacre alongside Delos employees and their new head of security. Multiple timelines were one of the ways that Westworld tried to tease people in the first season, only to be figured out by Reddit pretty quickly. Art, do you like that we've got a separate timelines plotline in this season of Westworld? I
do, very much. I had binged it all at once, and I stayed away from Reddit and everything.
Same.
I started kind of guessing it towards the end because of some people on Twitter. But I know that Reddit had figured it out by the 2nd or 3rd episode, and that's fine. That was the whole Rickroll thing that we talked about before, about how Reddit Nolan came out and said, "Oh, we have to avoid that, so we're just going to spoil everything."
And I feel like that's just kind of people dismiss Westworld because Reddit figured it out. And the idea that hundreds of thousands of people can come together and maybe guess the plot line, that's not remarkable to me. It's not
it's not.
They're putting those hints in there for a reason.
Yeah. So you got the hints that they gave you.
Good job.
Okay, that's still good. Yeah, some people also guessed the Eagles were going to win. That's
called
that it's
reading
not exciting
comprehension. We've done
that's
literary analysis for decades now.
Oh, and you said what, hundreds of thousands? No,
Centuries.
it's the 10 people who guess it, the hundreds of thousands who read it and then go, I
already
already
knew.
No, bro, you ain't guess it. You went and you read it.
Yeah.
It's still good regardless of if you guess it whether or not. You know what I mean? I like that. That wasn't the big buildup in the first season. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're both different. Yeah, but what happened in the different timelines, that's big.
Exactly.
And I like that they're still diving into it, because in the second one, it's like, oh, okay, now that we're not using it as a twist device, let's get even further into how we can use this narratively in terms of how 2 things are going on at the same time and be able to, in a sense, convey different things. Like in this one, you had the one timeline, and it's not even that big, it's 11 days, where he finds the serum.
Yes.
Or not even a serum, but he injects himself with the DNA stuff that he's figuring out.
The brain liquid thingy.
Exactly. So when he injects himself with that, it's not too long after that we see all the bodies, and you're trying to connect how the 2 come together. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I don't know if you saw after the episode, after the credits rolled and stuff, where they give you the sneak peek of what's coming up.
Yeah.
They're bringing back younger Men in Black. They're bringing back,
enough.
Right? As they had mentioned, I wished it wasn't revealed, but I guess they did. The fact that someone from the first season is going to be in season 3, so that means he's got to be in season 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they showed a little bit of him, so I like the way they're going about it because I think it's going to play off really interestingly in terms of, is the whole season just going to be this 11-day span? Are they going to dive into other things? When is his 2 parallel timeline going to come to a close?
Right. And I also think there's that lingering question of, like, are the 2 timelines as clear as they're trying to make them out to be? Because that was one thing they did in the first season, is they very much hid the fact that there were 2 timelines. So the fact that they're pretty openly showing you there's 2 different timelines happening, and one is supposed to be 11 days after another, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not actually. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of manipulation going on.
Oh, they gonna hit you with the left hook. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's something that I think we got to keep our eyes out for. I think it's also interesting that in both timelines, none of the humans know that Bernard is a host. He seems to be hiding that from everybody still.
Does baby Hemsworth or Hemsworth Sr., does he know?
That's the thing. I don't think he does.
Because I know he looks up there, he says, yo, that's the boss.
Yeah. So he recognizes Bernard. But there's also a question about where he's been for the past 11 days.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because no one knows that he's Arnold. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I get it.
So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be some interesting questions when they reveal a little bit more about that. I also think that we should talk about how the way the episode ends. It sort of calls back to the beginning of the episode in that Bernard was telling Dolores about his dream of being at an ocean and being left behind by all the other hosts. We come up to a sea that wasn't there before in the Westworld park, and tons and tons and tons of hosts drowned in that sea, with Bernard being left behind watching them all. And the episode ends with him saying, "I killed them all." Art, any ideas there? I think the most interesting thing that happens there, even more interesting than like whatever the whole Bernard maybe killing, being responsible for. I mean, we see James Marsden's dead in the water, right?
Yeah. So they were focusing on a face, and I couldn't really see the face. I'd have to go back to it. And really
I think that was James Marsden.
Then they showed James Marsden, but then he's underwater.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe he was sinking. I don't know about that, but I did find it interesting that you're showing me a face floating, and then when you show me James Marsden, he is underwater. So I don't know if that was to reference, oh, maybe the other one is Dolores, maybe it's not. I would figure that if it was Dolores, unless she died somewhere over there, she would have been the main focus there. Right. What I think is probably happening is now you got this, like, I don't know, Cain and Abel type of thing. I saw the reference kind of being like they're trying to cross the water. Right, as we'll get to the other timeline, but that idea of wanting to leave the Westworld and go into the real world and take that over, and it was sort of like trying to enter the promised land. You're trying to cross the River Jordan, and then like most of them died.
Right.
So I don't know if it's going to become this thing, because like you said at the beginning of the episode, you think it's Bernard? You don't think it's Arnold?
I feel like it's Bernard.
Okay. Well, when he has the conversation with her and says, "I'm afraid of you." She's like, "Why are you afraid of me?" She's like, "Because, girl, you smart, and I don't know what you're about to do." So all of this shooting and stuff happening makes me think, is this now a war between the two? She's trying to stop them to the point that he's killing all of those people, and she's trying to do anything in her power to make it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an interesting... I wonder if any of this is sort of like a trap, in that all these hosts are gathered here and dead, and I don't imagine that they'd be there for no reason. But what the reason is, I can't
Y'all know
even begin
Teddy
to
ain't
guess
dying,
that.
so.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's died plenty of times on the show, and he's still on it. So we're getting more of James Marsden, I believe. They also mentioned in this part the idea of characters crossing over from parks, which hasn't really happened before. They find that tiger dead in Westworld, and he's from one of the other parks. Kind of interesting that they're hinting at these other parks. There was that website that leaked out before that showed they were planning for some of the other parks there. I wonder if we are going to get a glimpse inside Shogun World. They're hinting at it a little bit. I'd love to see that at some point during season 2. So could be interesting there. Let's get to Meave, though. Talk a little bit about...
So hot.
Talk
Bro,
about
I don't
her
know
storyline.
what it is.
Danny Newton does it for you?
This episode in particular, I don't know what it is. Like, where she's playing an escort all of season 1, I was like, oh, she's elegant. In this episode, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's her determination. She looks great in that dress. I was like, whatever you want, lady. That guy's an idiot, though. The guy who was just like, hey, maybe is it? Bro, I invested. You just see everyone got taken out. What are you talking? You programmed her.
You should know better, Lee.
You should know better. That boy doing the little like, oh, it's my brother. He did it. No, what are you doing? You ain't 8 years old. What a fool. I would have killed him right on the spot.
Yeah, so last season, Maeve was going to leave Westworld and go into the real world. This season, she is heading back into Delos headquarters where she finds Lee, the Westworld narrative director. I thought there was actually a really funny beat.
We're drunk.
When she threatens him and Lee kind of meekly says, I wrote that line for you.
That line for you, yeah.
One of those cool meta moments that that I think is really interesting about Westworld. Maeve decides to use Lee to help her find her daughter, but Lee says that her daughter isn't real. It's made up for her character. She still seems to be the most conscious of the hosts, the one who seems to be most in control of what's going on. And regardless, she's planning on trying to find her daughter or something like it. Art, what did you think about returning to Maeve?
Visually fantastic.
Visually fantastic for you?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there were some really cool moments in that, seeing more of the headquarters and how it's kind of just completely massacred now, and they go into the map room, and there's bodies all over the map and stuff. It's interesting to see that part of Westworld, even though it's not in the park, in that light. We haven't gotten that glimpse of it before.
To me, if Dolores is the Khaleesi, the Daenerys Targaryen, of this world, and is just out for destruction, but people were rooting for her because she was always abused or whatever, the farmer's daughter, and now you can see she's out for destruction. She is the Jon Snow. Maeve is the Jon Snow of this, and I feel like she's going to be the very key redeeming character of the entire thing, because she literally just is the prostitute. You know what I mean? There's nothing special about Maeve per se when it comes to everything else. Dolores has been getting hints back since Arnold was alive. You know what I mean?
Right.
A bunch of these other,
Maeve is more of like the bastard of the show.
Maeve is the bastard. Maeve is Rey.
Yeah.
Maeve and Dolores need to have that one scene just like Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow at the end of season. No, I'm just kidding. I think for real that she's going to be like the key factor towards the end of the season, if not the series, in terms of being the one ex machina, the one that gets away.
Right.
And goes into the crowd. I feel like the series will end with this whole clash of will they make it, will they not? And then she does, though.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, she's definitely seems a key role in whatever's going on. So I'm curious to see what they end up doing with her. We also get some time with Dolores. The second time we see her in the episode, she's riding horseback alongside James Marsden's Teddy, picking off guests with her rifle set to an old-timey version of The Entertainer. Dolores is no longer conflicted, introspective. She's full-on Wyatt, murdering the guests as revenge for what they've done to her. Art, does Dolores's dark turn work for you so far?
Trash. Bro. Everyone was like, yo, who's Wyatt? Oh my goodness. Is it like, what's the Game of Thrones one? Where everyone's waiting for Azal, Sahir, whatever, Azor.
Al-High.
Azor, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's like, so Wyatt, she believes, ain't no girl named Wyatt. Is this the twist? Really? You gave us a guy's name? And I know you can play the whole gender thing, but it's like, bro, no, hey, take it easy. And that was always hinted that Wyatt was in her. And now she's like, oh, I'm full Wyatt. And I was like, I don't know if I'm rocking with this. It's like she went straight up season 1 Khaleesi to season 7 Khaleesi.
Yes.
Just like that. And I don't know about you, but we've had discussions about this. I'm not a big fan of Dark Khaleesi. She's annoying. She's all like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave people hanging for whatever else. And I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it. I'm like, maybe it's just not for me. And then she said something. When she was hanging the people there. Like, you can't just leave us like that. And she goes, doesn't look like anything to me. No.
Nah, not with it.
How would she know the line?
Yeah.
Not only how would she know the line.
Maybe it was written for her. But...
No, because it's not hers. And she also is literally saying something because she just had the discussion.
Right.
So even if it was in her mind to go like,
yeah,
okay, pretend that I don't see them. No one asked her the question, do you see that?
Right.
So what I'm seeing here is writing that goes, ooh, what's the most givable thing from the last season? Doesn't look like anything to me. And then she says it. Not for herself, not for the script, but I felt for the audience. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, man, we ain't just going season 1 Khaleesi to season 7 Khaleesi. We going season 1 writing to season 7 writing real quick. And I hope that's not the case. And I only felt it with the storyline. It didn't bother you as much?
It didn't bother me. I wasn't with it. I'm not into the Dolores character.
Lame.
She's
boring, right?
I liked her in the first season because there was that conflict. There was that trying to figure out what's happening, trying to figure out the hints. And I think a character that seems like they know the answer is less interesting than one that's trying to find it. That's why I'm into Bernard. That's why I'm into Meave. Dolores doesn't really, I don't know what her goal is, and her goal is dark and evil. And, I don't find just slaughtering people to be narratively interesting. So I want there to be a little bit more there. I'm not going to write off that storyline yet because we're 1 episode in, and I'm sure they're going to have some interesting twists there. But yeah, I'm not with that as much as I am other parts of the show so far.
And she got to stop using Teddy.
Yeah, give my man James Marsden a break. He has it rough on Westworld. I think there was a little bit of an interesting kind of element to the way that a lot of things are gender flipped or power dynamics are flipped. They talked a lot about how HBO shows are often female-centric in the nudity and male-centric in terms of the violence, and this was the exact opposite in that we get some male nudity here, and the women are in control of the violence. I don't know how much of that. I don't know how much of that was an intentional commentary on the way that HBO shows typically go, but I could see it as an intentional response.
Well, you heard the article, right? You read the article about they're going to try to divvy up
the
equal amount of nudity towards the show.
Yeah.
I just hope it goes with the story. That's all I'm saying. I just hope it goes with the story.
Yeah. So other things that are important, I'd say we got a bit of Ed Harris as the Man in Black character. He's made it to the center of the maze, and now Robert has a new game for him. He needs to get out and find the door. He's given a clue. I don't think there's a whole lot we can talk about with him, though, although there is that cool moment where he talks to the young Robert robot.
Savage.
Yeah, and they layer the voices. That was a cool thing.
Oh, that's creepy. Boy, he just shot that kid in the... Oh. He didn't even think twice about it. He said, are you done? Boom.
Yeah, I got what I need. I'm on my way. I guess the Man in Black's game is just about survival now that the stakes are life or death here, now that he can actually die. I don't know if there's going to be something more to it, but...
That's what he's been wanting.
It's
what he's been wanting. So it'd be really interesting to see how he played. Because throughout the whole episode, that's what I was thinking as I saw these people getting slaughtered. Like, some of them had guns. I'm like, y'all came here to play. Play.
Right.
You can still shoot them back. Shoot them back.
Also, Delos is trying to extract a host that has a ton of park information on it. They seem to highly value it. I don't really know. I feel like it's one of those details that they're dropping in there so that later on it can become important because, I don't necessarily know what they're going to do with that. Unless it connects with this next thing in that Delos has DNA of every guest who's entered the park. This is something that Tessa Thompson's character says to Jeffrey Wright's character when they go into the lab together, and they kind of just mention it in passing that they can do DNA matches and stuff like that. What occurred to someone on the Westworld Reddit is, what if they're getting all of this DNA so they can recreate the guests that died as hosts? That potentially puts some of the hosts out into the real world.
Yep. No, 1,000%. 1,000%. I've been saying this since the first season. I've been saying this since the first season, 1,000%. They're taking this DNA, and then you can easily swap people out and bring it in. I don't know if this was a thing in the original movies. I think was there 2 movies? Yeah, because it was Westworld, and then I forgot what the sequel was, but it took place in another world when they were able to go to different ones. That was one of the things that they had there. They would bring officials in. It was in the sequel. They would bring like prime ministers or whatever, and they were taking their DNA to then be able to put clone prime ministers back in their place and be able to rule stuff. Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about how, I guess, so one big thing hanging over the episode is there was no Anthony Hopkins. And, you know, I don't know if we're going to get him soon or not, but considering that, what if he didn't actually die and made a host replica of himself?
Yeah, everyone's been saying this. We've thought that since the first one, and from the news, it seems that's the case. I hope I'm okay with it because it's Anthony Hopkins. You know what I mean? But I still am going to stand to the point that if it was any other show, I'd be like, that is lame.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that the way that they execute it, or that they do something different, is done well.
Yeah, I mean, there is a sort of potential problem in that, because we've seen Bernard die already. We've seen Dolores and Teddy and Meave die already. Because so many of the characters that we care about are hosts, does death even mean anything to many of the people we care about if they can be recreated so easily? So I do hope that the big twist isn't that everybody is hosts, because that's going to take a lot of the tension out of the show. But I think there's some interesting things here kind of scattered along for us to, you know, pick up on. Was there anything else that stood out to you from this premiere episode? Things that you're looking forward to the rest of the season?
Yeah, let me pull up my notes real quick over here, because I did have something that did stuck out. It stuck out to me. It was a line that I feel is going to be used again. It was brought up at the beginning of the episode where, what's her name? She's shooting everybody?
Not Meave or Dolores?
Dolores.
Okay,
Dolores asks at the beginning, what's real? And Bernard, Arnold, however you want to see him, says, anything that can't be replaced. She's like, eh. It's like, oh, you don't like that answer. But that was interesting. It's anything that can't be replaced.
Right.
And it started, I don't know, I don't know what to think about that yet, because I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, that falls for humans. Like, a human cannot be replaced. So as you mentioned, if these hosts can't die, then they're not real. But that's the whole point, that they're trying to get to a point that can be real. But it's like, this microphone is real.
Is that a bad definition of real? Because, like, there's that moment with Meave and Lee where Lee tells her that her daughter isn't real, and she's like, are these fingers real? You know,
real?
like,
if I shove them, yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm getting at, though, right? This is real. It can be replaced, though. Or can it technically be replaced, because it would be a brand new keyboard, not that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, those are the most interesting questions that Westworld brings up. It's that whole idea of, what does humanity mean? What does a replicant mean? What are the consequences of these types of actions? I think that's where Westworld becomes special, is when it gets you to think about stuff like that.
It brings me to the next one, because I had 3 in total. It was at the 54-minute mark, when I think it's the kid talking to him. It's the kid version of Anthony Hopkins, and he tells him something.
The young Robert Robot.
Yeah, then Man in Black, Ed Harris goes, you're still talking in code? And then the kid goes, everything is code. And I have a poster that I was looking at posters, and one of the posters says, every single person has a code to them. Every human has a code to them. And it's the veins of a human body, but like as digital code.
Interesting.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I watched the episode, and he brings that up, and it gets back to that root of the idea that all the robots may be code, right? Like that scene where he says, oh, I wrote that line for you. But how many times can you, like, go to your, I don't know, the person who you look up to the most, or your parents or whatever? As Kanye, if you don't follow Kanye on Twitter, has said, your first acting coaches are your teachers. They teach you how to act from the beginning. So at what point are you yelling at your parents and them go, you got that from a movie? Oh, you got that because I've been in that position. I taught you those words. You know what I mean? Yeah. That humans themselves have codes depending on how they've been rigged.
Yeah, what of our behavior is natural and what of it is learned from our environments.
which is, again, the bigger question over the robots and anything else, that it's asking about humans, but through robots. People just go, oh, that's really interesting with the robots. But it's like, bro, it's not about the robots.
Yeah.
They're using robots as a symbolism about you and the things that you go through and stuff.
Especially, like, this being questions that we're going to be dealing with more and more so in real life.
Exactly. The last one being 59-minute mark. Again, Dolores using Teddy, but she says, one thing is constant. You. And I found that interesting because the best part about Dolores' timeline is Teddy. And he is always there. No matter what it is, he's always there. Obviously, I go back to Lost. Desmond is the constant. It's a storyline that I love from that show. So seeing that pop up back over here, I think is going to be really interesting because it's not only Teddy being the constant for her. Maeve's is searching for her constant. Her constant is her child. And everybody else has a constant. So I'm curious to see how all of that plays off.
Yeah, it is sort of an interesting thing that this companionship thing ends up being a really big part of so many of the hosts' programming. Despite the fact that they're not humans, they still have this like call for companionship. Exactly. I don't know if that's if you can explain that away in code or not, but I mean I'm loving all the Lost comparisons, especially with the multiple timelines and stuff. There are a lot of things here giving me major Lost vibes.
Someone was saying he's like Westworld is like Lost when Lost was good. Of course. Of course, I'm a big Lost fan, so I take a little offense to that. Yeah. But it's true, though. I'll be the first to say it. No, I get it.
Yeah, I get
Lost
it.
Crazy
this is why we host a podcast together. I get that, too.
Exactly. 1,000%. So,
it's
exciting, dude.
Absolutely. We're having this conversation basically in the immediate aftermath of the Season 2 premiere. So by the time that you've watched this, Art may have already posted something fuller. I don't know. Reddit is definitely going to have Season 2 completely solved by the time you see this video.
It's done. Bro, they got 3.
So I'm sure we're talking about Westworld more in the upcoming weeks. Stick with us and let us know what you thought of the Season 2 premiere in the comments down below. We're going to move on for now to our last segment of the week, the new to see, talking about what's new in theaters, on VOD, and streaming, starting with what else? The big movie of the weekend, the big movie maybe of the year, maybe the big movie of all time. I'm willing to say that.
Can I guess it?
You want to guess it? It's a good guessing game.
Look, I've been excited for this for the longest time. I truly believe that the son of Bigfoot is definitely going to come in and bash all those box office records.
I thought you were going to go with Disobedience, the Rachel Weisz McAdams Orthodox Jew lesbian drama.
Bro, that don't even come out on Flix. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I mean, we all know what it's going to be. We all know what's going to break the records.
Avengers Infinity War.
I think it's going to break the records. There's absolutely no way. If Black Panther was bringing those people to the theater, it takes place in Wakanda. It's bringing the same people to the theater, plus everybody else, plus the people who've been waiting and stuff like that. Like you can't. I mean, they moved it up a week.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thirst for this movie. I think everybody seems to get that this is the culmination of a lot of Marvel efforts over the past decade plus now.
Yeah, it's earned it. It's earned it.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Black Panther made all that money. And from the looks of it, this is like almost an indirect Black Panther sequel. We got a whole section of the movie happening in Wakanda. So that whole audience is going to be thirsty to see it again. All the people who just want to see regular Avengers stuff are going to be excited for this one. I think there's just a whole lot of interest in seeing what Marvel is doing and planning for their future. And early reports seem to think that this is going to smash a bunch of box office records. So worth keeping track of that. New to streaming on Netflix, April 27th, 3%, the second season. This is the Brazilian show from the cinematographer of City of God. I've heard good things about season 1, so I'm going to try and catch up soon. Bobby Kennedy for President also comes out the same day. It's a 4-part documentary series about Bobby Kennedy's presidential run. And there's some good buzz on this one, so don't be surprised if you see some good reviews coming out. Also on Netflix on April 27th, The Man Who Knew Infinity. From 2015, this stars Dev Patel and Jeremy Irons in a story about a pioneering Indian mathematician. Slipped through the cracks a little bit.
I think I'll stay home.
HBO Go on April 28th, The Hitman's Bodyguard, which I love to
it.
remind people, was the #1 movie in America for 3 weeks in a row.
That's
and
crazy.
You probably forgot about that.
Exactly.
On Amazon Prime on April 27th, All or Nothing Dallas Cowboys Season 3, documentary series that goes behind the scenes for the Dallas Cowboys. And then Little Bit Awesome Season 1A. I have no idea what that is. Hulu on April 25th. The Handmaid's Tale Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2 become available. I still am planning my Handmaid's Tale catch-up, so I'm going to hopefully be ready for April 25th, but I enjoyed what I've seen so far. April 27th, Tiny Shoulders, Rethinking Barbie. It's a Hulu original documentary about the redesign of the problematic yet iconic doll. And then on April 30th, The Carmichael Show moves from Netflix to Hulu. It's one of the best multicam sitcoms of the last decade, so if that sounds like your cup of tea, that one is going to be on Netflix for a little bit more and then jump into Hulu. New to VOD on April 24th, Hostiles with Christian Bale. This one I think is directed by Scott Cooper. Batman Ninja, Den of Thieves.
Been hearing things about that.
And Paddington 2. So Art, what is your pick for the week?
I mean, obviously if you're going out to theaters, can you even see another movie? Ain't all the screenings doing the Last Jedi thing where it's just literally that, plus like maybe a Black Panther screening. Everyone's going to be seeing Avengers, so I obviously highly recommend going to see that just because of how big it is. And it's an event, and I honestly think people should go and catch this event.
Yeah, it's fun to be part of cultural moments sometimes, and it's rare that we know, like, everybody's going to be talking about this, so I'm going to be catching up with that too, or being there.
Yeah, so I'd say that if for whatever reason that's not your cup of tea, probably in second place for me in theaters right now is A Quiet Place. So Avengers, A Quiet Place. If you want to stay at home, I have heard good things about the Lost in Space TV show.
I'm not familiar with it really, but I've heard the new one is pretty good.
I've heard a couple of good things for it, but what I would personally recommend, if you're a fan of it, Rapture. I know HBO has their own version of it, but I'm in the last couple of episodes of it. Rapture, it's pretty much like a docu-series about rappers. The first one is on Logic. The second one is on Nas and Dave East, and it's just a really interesting look. I love the way that it's edited, the way that it's paced through, and it gives you a little glimpse of these rappers' life that you don't usually see or understand fully sometimes through the lyrics and the stuff that they go through in the creative process. So I would definitely check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been thinking about catching up with Rapture. It seems interesting.
You have to.
Netflix. I'll look into that one. My pick for the week, obviously everybody's going to see Avengers Infinity War, so I don't want to recommend that one. I will recommend, if you're in the New York area, still got another week of the Tribeca Film Festival, and there's a whole bunch of interesting movies playing. A lot of good documentaries, sports documentaries, and stuff like that too. Also a movie called, Zoe, that's supposed to be pretty good that I'm seeing later this week, so I'll be on Twitter with some thoughts on movies throughout the week. But if you're staying home, I'll go with The Carmichael Show. If you got Netflix now or if you got Hulu on April 30th, it's a really great look at some of the issues that people talk about and why they're so frustrating to talk about. I think it's great in that it's an issue show that doesn't necessarily take sides. It just sort of talks about people's frustrations and lets them go at each other. It's similar to All in the Family in a lot of ways, but Gerard Carmichael at the center of it is really, really funny, and there's a great cast on it. Lil Rel Howery and Tiffany Haddish were both on this show before they broke out last year in movies, so I would definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's an easy show to watch, like most laugh track sitcoms are. You can kind of just put it on, half pay attention, and laugh with the funny parts. So, yeah, Carmichael Show is my recommendation, but that's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter at ZShevich, or on Instagram, also at ZShevich, and check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplexshow. Art, where can people find more from you?
You can find me at the A to Z Show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Got some videos coming up over there. But make sure to not only catch us here on the Intercod, which he's gonna put you up to, but definitely if you're watching this and you missed it on our videos or on his social media and whatnot, definitely go check out Fables. What's the artist name?
Margot.
That's it? Should you go by Margot? Was she
Single
Seal? Margot. Just Margot. No Robbie or nothing in the back. My man worked on a music
Martindale.
video. Yeah, no Martindale, no character actress before it or anything. It's called Fables. He directed it, and it's super dope. So definitely go check that out. The first goal we want is 10,000. Once we pass that, we'll readjust our goals, but definitely help us get there to 10,000. He did a fantastic job with it, so go just stream it as many times. It's on Spotify too?
Yeah, the EP is on Spotify and the music video is up on YouTube now. So,
go check it out.
EP is available on any music streaming service. So yeah, Margot is the artist and Fables is the video that I directed. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Thank you, Art, for the plug. Hopefully you guys all enjoy it out there. I had a lot of fun making that video. I have a lot of fun making these videos though, and you can listen to every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, on SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. I like Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intercutpod, where you can find our bright, smiling faces as we run through the latest in entertainment for all of you. Find new episodes of Intercut every Tuesday, and also like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, all of them at IntercutPod, to get updates from both me and Art throughout the week. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, these violent delights have violent ends.
That one I approve of.